Hello again. Welcome to our Toku Ramblings. Been a bit. Caught up with all my previous notes I've been taking for previous series, so these may come out a bit later than usual. Instead of like the bi-weekly thing, but yeah, we've returned to Garo, and specifically the Ryuga verse. There's with Goldstorm plus its prequel movie Goldstorm show? I think that's what it is. I think it's Goldstorm show and then just Goldstorm. It's kind of weird. Like that. But, yeah, this was kind of a gamble if I would think so. So I don't really know how well this series fared otherwise Japan, because it's one of those series that doesn't really have as much information from what I gathered. But this was Yami was a rather mixed series for some. Some people really liked it, some people really didn't. Yeah, let's start with the movie. So after the events of Volt City, Ryuga and Rian are now just traveling around dealing with horrors that they're tasked with dealing with. And after dealing with some in a kind of building city, Ryuga ends up collapsing in pain, which Zarba reveals as the armor needs to be purified of all of its negative ki. They soon head to Line City. This world has the weirdest naming conventions for city. These two meet a powerful Makai priest named Ryum, made to clean the armor. And at the same time that they're doing this, a big crisis starts to unfold as an ancient magical tool named Ago awakens to eliminate all horrors from the world, which also includes eliminating all humans from the world. And I say this as technically a sequel to Yami, but it can kind of be seen as its own sort of thing. It only really carries over Ryuga, Rian, and Zarba, and it makes a much stronger first impression than Yami's initial episode. The first fight inside that city is one of the best introductions the series has had in its runtime. We see both their abilities, the cinematography. He is really and that camera, which was so pulled back, is right where it needs to be to let you see what is going on. It is a astonishingly really solid scene that just sets up how much better the scenes are gonna be. Also, Riga no longer has that really stupid hairstyle that I did not like in the first series, so props to that. And this probably is some of the best Garo has been since probably Makai Senki. And it really is more just how this film looks, because it does mostly go by the standard. We get a lot of really interesting locales. The aforementioned. There's the tower, the ancient landscape, many tokusatsu's favorite filming locations like a quarry, a music venue. And we actually end on quite a unique locale, being a highway for a fight against a CGI monstrosity. The Garo sword isn't really used much there, but at least the show does give a good reason for why it's not here, instead of just being entirely CG and not looking great. And, a lot of the new characters do have a better overall introduction, even if they're kind of just setting up for the show, hopefully. Ryume just is there to clean the armor, but it gives something closer to the original series of someone to send our heroes out to do their mission. And there's the Ringo and Yukihime, who are fine, but they're just too much of an enigma. At this point, it mostly just serve as a quirky comedy duo more than anything else. And the villain more or less proceeds to upend and the regular gamut of normal humans, rogue members of the Order, during just the horror itself to be a tool. A literal tool, not just, that second one kind of hers. Algo really doesn't have much of a personality being a tool. But he does bring up quite the interesting debate regarding, I think if anything they do, and if anything that either of them do matters, since horrors will just continue to pop up, cause problems because people are, stupid or assholeish people. They ultimately choose to do the right thing, but for Rian, she wonders if this is truly worth it considering how much humanity at times sucks. Ultimately, he is interested in that case, but he ends up getting absorbed by the big horror, which I have forgotten by this point, so just he's absorbed, and now that's the final build on the cool new highway fight that we get. And the film, unlike Yami, really makes the suits when they come out feel special. There's grandiose behind the fights. Seems rather than more or less just feeling extremely done and over real quickly and not really mattering. And the fight, it gives the actors a chance to want to show off their own fight scenes and choreography outside of it, which has been one of the driving things that has made Garo more it's sort of out-of-suit fighting. And if there is something I can more or less state about Goldstorm, it sort of feels like it's trying to do Yami but better. Like, we've seen what didn't work, so let's try to improve. There are things that don't work, but as far as a standalone movie goes, as a sort of reintroduction to this universe, Goldstorm's show is really great. It is probably the best that Garo has been since Makai Senki. And there's a lot of great action here. The villain, while not the most interesting, does offer up the most unique perspective on dealing with horrors, and it's an overall really solid time. Moving over to the main series, Ryuga and Rian have been taking missions from Ryume and dispatching horrors in the area or within Line City. Activity has been on the rise thanks in no part to Tsukasa? Huh. Guess this really is his fault this time. Otaku was right about something. Okay, it's not Tsukasa, it's actor Masahiro Inui playing a horror by the name of Jinga, and his wife, well, he's not playing his wife, but it's someone, and his wife Amelie, who intend to raise a horror super weapon castle known as Redan in hopes of wiping out humanity. Ryuga and Rian proceed to team up with a priest in charge of the Seal Gold and a fellow knight Daigo in hopes of preventing Jinga from awakening the horror. So, one thing I think this series does better, and yeah, it's going to be sort of a running theme here of this series did something better than Yami, is that it starts off with more, traditional one-off story. Or rather than just immediately moving into, the overarching serialized narrative with, one episode that really has nothing to do with the plot. But it does tie back with Jing and Amelie, showing that they sort of have something to do with the horrors. It gives more of the standard one-off narratives that started Garo. That said, when it does get going and we mostly focus on fighting Jinga and Amelie, the show kind of runs the pacing issues where there's just episodes where they're just fighting and just goes on for a bit longer. It's one of those things that's not as bad with the series now fully released and being bingeable rather than just week to week waiting to see what happens, but it is still noticeable in terms of pacing issues. And the other thing that this series kind of does still struggle with is character focus. This Ryuga, Ria, and Zorba return for this series, and Zorba does talk a bit more here to Ryuga and is less of an ass to him. He is slightly better than how he was in the first series. For one, he got rid of that god-awful haircut that just makes you want to punch him. He's less of an angsty teen. But he also sort of goes through some of the same developments he had in that series. He's lacking maturity and sometimes allowing his emotions to take over when they really shouldn't. He does now respect back to 40 figures now. And it's only really when... Not now. It's only when his berserk button is really pushed is when he allows his emotions to get out of hand. But if you weren't won over by him in the first series, you're probably not going to be won over here. Maybe not. Rian kind of more steps into a mentor role to the new Makai Priest this season, Gold, showing that he has a lot to learn after more or less trouncing him. Though she kind of suffers the same issue in that she gets a lot of damsel in distress moments throughout the season, which is annoying because unlike previous female leads, she actually is shown to be able to kick plenty of ass, but it's frustrating, it's annoying. Aside from that, the new characters include Gaul, the cocky protector of Radon, who has a chip in his shoulder because Makai Knights once massacred his village. Free as to who that was. And his main development mostly comes from getting knocked down a peg by Rian and learning to accept help. And I do like him. Well, compared to the last Makai Priest and Barai, yeah, he's a lot better. His sister exists. Yes. She tries to assist her brother, but she can't really do much because of her atrophy in legs. So she's mostly just speaking through a doll that he has. And that kind of carries over to one of the big issues again I brought up in this series. Is that some characters really have not as much focus. They're kind of here to serve a point. For example, Daigo is a good secondary knight here, considering that he was coming off of Kirame Blue. Yes, I know his name is Krill, but he was very little, barely a character, so I'm just gonna remember him as Kirame Blue. I do prefer the two knights setup instead of trying to do the trio knight, since Aoki really didn't do much. I do like Daigo as a better foil to Ryuga, a more serious, stoic guy who understands the importance of taking care of his equipment. He kind of just disappears after he's introduced and only shows up once the story where he needs him, when his mentor is killed, when he's trying to prevent his students from being killed. But besides his point in the story, he really does not get much focus, which kind of carries over to D. Ryume and Yukihime. we learned that they have some kind of connection to the Makai Order with the fact that he can do a lot of these things. Like, he has a giant Makai brush, but we don't learn much about who they are or why they're around. And they're just kind of like that cool uncle and aunt to do cool things from time to time, so you want to spend more time with them, which I do really want to do. But that's not in the cards here. Now, Garo villains had always kind of been hit or miss, considering how many are mostly swatted away to make room for the latest CGI monstrosity. But Goldstorm easily hits it out of the park with Ginga. The fallen Makai Knight steals the show with his face of heart to Masahiro and you can tell he's enjoying every moment in this role, while gleefully playing with the main cast and hamming it up whatever he can. And it is a stellar performance. Man, it's far away from the weird laughs he did when he started as Tsukasa from Decade. His wife is less memorable, more eye-candy and being an assistant to Ginga than anything else. I do think it's a good kind of like counterpart to Ryuga and Rian's relationship, being a knight and priest who work together and fight. Right? I also like how they handle, their backstory. There is sympathy for what happened to them and why they became like they are, but ultimately they're probably not the exact same people. They're horrors and just carry on their memory of what happened and merely are just carrying on their anger and regret to cause problems for the future. It's a nice way to feel sorry for the people they once were, but ultimately not feel bad for what they've become. Also has a really nice suit that looks great. I think Makai no Hana might definitely win out than being the best looking just for the variety of what was on view here. But Goldstorm isn't bad either. The return mixture of CG and live action makes each scene look a lot better, and with him likely overseeing things, fight scenes feel a lot less poorly shot or just weirdly done. The first episode is a great example with the aerial fight, like rising fight with the things. The new version of Garo is a bit bulkier than the previous looks. It doesn't look as good in motion when compared to others, but it does help Ryuga stand out as a knight a bit more. Again, Ginga's kind of more demonic corruption of what a Makai Knight looks like really good. I kind of wish, because Giga does make the bulkier armor work more since, he's using a big axe, so it makes a lot more sense. And it retains the kind of more black that Yami introduced, but fully shines when the moment really needs it. Again, horror variety is definitely backed up, though, after the first couple of episodes. They disappear mostly to focus on the fight between Ginga and Amo. But they do stand out a bit more. Again, I do think Makai no Hana definitely does stand out as the better looking season, just for the variety of episodes. Even if its story was not the greatest, I still think it does look better. And the soundtrack is way a step above Yami, not Makai. Makai really was really good in that department. The main themes all work really well. And That's the best way I can describe Goldstorm. It clearly took what didn't work about Yami and tried to work to make them better. A much more focused cast, which, while not getting the most focus, does feel a lot better and more likable. But the action looks a lot better, thanks in part to the fact that the suits are now actually real and not just CG and actually last a bit longer. The villains are a lot more interesting. It's very much a redo of Yami, but doing things a lot better. Again, it does kind of more or less go through some things the exact same as the first season. But, you know, I would say Goldstorm is a really great season. Not perfect, but really, really good. Good. And yeah, that'll wrap it up. As always, do the things to keep me in the YouTube algorithm if I ever get there. Like, comment, subscribe. And we'll see you next time for... it's gonna be a firestorm.